DNVR Fantasy Podcast. My guy, Justin Michael, behind the screen? Behind the screen? Yeah, behind the screen. There you go. My man, Kale Sorbo, tweeting out these guys right now. We're here, week 3 in the books. Well, not quite, because as we do every week, we come to you right before Monday Night Football. Should be an exciting one. I think that fantasy owners in this one will feel good. I feel like the over is going to be popular and what have you.
I've got 3 games on the line tonight in 3 separate leagues.
Do you really?
Yeah. And the hard part is, in one of them I have an 8-point lead right now, and I have Jalen Hurts, but they have both Greg Zuerlein and CeeDee Lamb. It's gonna be tight.
I would not want to go against CD right now.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the way that they're targeting him in that offense. I think your saving grace could be the rushing component from Jalen Hurts. You know, if you can get 75 to 80 yards out of him, maybe a rushing touchdown, might be able to offset the production. But you definitely don't want to see those deep shots down the field to Lamb, because that's kind of where he feasts, and obviously those are the big point plays. I'm thoughts and prayers, Kale. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, it's the Eagles' corners, so I would... If it was betting, I would say take a buyout on that one. Let's get into outstanding vibes down at the bar. Come join us. Monday Night Football about to kick off. Week 3's in the books. How are your fantasy teams doing? Feel free to lie. You don't have to tell the truth.
I'm good. I should be 2-1 in both my leagues.
Nice.
Including the DNVR league. So I'm feeling good. But this is going to be a really timely episode for me because I'm dealing with some pretty substantial injuries. I got to figure out how to get better production at running back.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to diving into all this.
We've got you covered, luckily, on a lot of that. I keep doing well in my dynasties. Redrafts just not getting it. The key in dynasties, wait to draft those running backs. And now all my like last year my running backs were terrible. And they're like Chase Edmonds, and like I didn't have another one. This year in the rookie draft, I get Javonte Williams. Chase Edmonds is fine.
And Williams' stock is on the rise. I mean, I know he had the fumble, and that's disappointing,
that was
really. And is coming off of statistically his worst yards per carry performance, but I think the writing is on the wall when it comes to how much Denver trusts Javonte.
Yeah. And
like a goal line fumble, never ideal.
No.
But they want to get him those goal line touches because that's where he thrives, and
right.
I feel good with him because I think his role is only going to increase.
Plus, it probably saved you like at least 6 fantasy points. So maybe now you can buy a little lower on him. But running backs are the major concern, aren't they always? So let's get into guys who could potentially fill that running back spot for you on your roster as we get into a little buy or sell here based off some week 3 performances. Nice to see the chat filling up. What up, Zach? Coffeeville, Mississippi, I won't be answering your call. Don't know who you are. Not interested.
I'd like to contact you about your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, that would be my guess. The one I want to start with, I mentioned Chase Edmonds. James Conner, however, confused me. That number 6 looks nice on him. Very slick. He gets 2 touchdowns against the lowly Jaguars. Not a ton of yards, not a ton of catches, but he does go 11 for 43 for 2 tuds. Are you buying James Conner? Also had 10 receiving yards, 1 reception on 1 target. Are you buying James Conner in the red zone to kind of be that RB2 who once in a while you got to roll the dice on and is going to get you 1, if not multiple tuds?
Running back 2, I like his stock, but I'm just always hesitant with running backs like in teams with the Cardinals, the Ravens, that have those mobile quarterbacks, because you're always going to lose. If they do a little rollout and Kyler scampers in, you're going to be pulling your hair out as a James Conner fantasy owner.
Right.
The counter is you do need somebody to be able to hand it off to, because otherwise Kyler's going to get killed down there. So, yeah, I mean, as a running back, too, I like his stock. I do think he has more potential catching the ball out of the backfield than we've seen so far. That was something he did well in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
I like his stock moving forward. It's just a fun offense. I don't know if I buy in Cliff Kingsbury as a head coach and decision-making and all that.
Well, that's
but I
the
like
other
watching
thing.
that team.
Well, he is such a stereotype of like, oh, I'm young and I'm a good play caller, but I am lacking all other elements of coaching. Like kicking a 68-yarder right into a kick six. Insane. But that's the thing, though. Cliff's been hard to figure out. He's been very old school with the run game. Last year, we complained ad nauseum about Kenyon Drake just not being utilized the right way in that offense. I think Chase Edmonds is the guy. If I had James Conner on any of my teams, I would be selling. We don't always disagree. We did on this one, and I like that. Kale, do you want to break that tie?
I got to go with Justin on this one.
Ooh.
Yeah, sorry.
Really?
No, not sorry about it.
I just think Chase Edmonds is the guy there. And also, I don't trust Cliff Kingsbury as far as I can throw him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Oh, no. You want to finish the thought? You can finish the thought.
No, in my head, I was picturing how far do you think you could throw Cliff Kingsbury? A couple yards at least. He's skinny. He's a skinny guy.
A couple yards, especially if I was up top at the bar, and that's why I'm a sicko, and my mind goes there right away. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, second-year player. People who drafted him not happy until this week where he finally gets 100 rushing yards, 2 receptions, merely 9 yards, but does get a crucial touchdown. Looked better in a loss to the Chargers. And boy, what to make of this Chiefs offense. Toughie. Real toughie.
I did see that they're bringing in Josh Gordon, so they are going to improve their depth at wide receiver too. That's bad news for the rest of the league. I mean, if there was anyone we didn't want a deep threat guy, now can he stay on the field? That's a whole other question.
Josh
Watkins.
Gordon hasn't been a real impact player for half a decade, and he played with Russell Wilson. I don't know why we're making a big deal out of this. It's not like he hasn't had elite quarterback play. He was pretty much active and healthy for most of several of the past few seasons and hasn't sniffed 1,000 yards.
Josh Gordon will forever be that guy because
the talent is there. The production
of course.
hasn't been. That's a fair.
He broke the 14 game season record
with a bunch of crappy quarterbacks in Cleveland.
Horrendous and very poor teammates around him, and we will always remember he is the definition of wasted potential. His photo would be in.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's unfortunate.
But
for some weed, it's insane.
To answer the Clyde Edwards-Helaire question, because I actually think there's a decent way to look at this.
Yeah.
If you're going to be starting against someone who runs a too high shell fantasy friendly defensive system that Fangio and Staley and all them run, absolutely Clyde is going to be your answer there because they're inviting the Chiefs to run. All over the place.
Well,
they're playing
inviting yards in that
playing a lot of nickel. They're playing a lot of
spot,
dime. They've got 2 high safeties, and that box isn't going to be stacked a lot. So there's going to be a lot of accumulation yards. And so if he's playing any of those guys, the new coordinator on the Packers comes from that system. The Rams obviously still run that system. A lot of that I would go. But if you're playing anyone that's going to play more of that traditional cover 3 system that we still see all over the NFL, I would be out on Clyde because he's only going to eat when you ask him to. He's not a game-changing back.
3 such defenses left on that schedule. So that's a very nice breakdown because, of course, Broncos need to be played twice and Chargers again. Chiefs in general, tough one to figure out for me. Because, I mean, Tyreek is who he is. Kelsey is who he is. Clyde Edwards-Helaire maybe is going to factor into this. I really feel like Pringle, Hardman, someone's going to come out of this and kind of be a mid-season waiver wire pickup that's really going to swing some leagues.
And it might be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, he was a really productive guy at LSU, but one of the things I actually heard on Good Morning Football this week, and I thought it was an astute point, was look at the talent that was around him at LSU at wide receiver.
All time.
The entire time he was there, playing with Joe Burrow at quarterback.
Randy Moss's son at tight end, and Justin Jefferson in the slot, and Jamar Chase, and Lloyd Cushenberry, and
it's easy to put up stats like that when you're playing in that
Joe
type of. It's the
Barry,
Alabama argument, which it's not always fair, but I think so far we've kind of seen that when Clyde Edwards-Helaire has to be the guy, he's just kind of running the mill. Yeah, it was a nice performance, but I don't love his stock moving forward because I still just think Travis Kelce is going to be Kansas City's first, second, and third option when it comes red zone time because he's just such a matchup nightmare. And at the end of the day, if you have a running back that's not consistently scoring touchdowns, unless he's one of those dudes that's just going to rack it up in PPR and get you 140 yards on the ground or something, I just don't see it consistently with him. And he'd make me really nervous, especially if I was really needing him to put up points as like a running back 1, running back 2. Now, a flex option when you've got some guys on a bye week, maybe.
Sure.
But I don't love it.
Here's what I would say. If I had him on one of my teams, I would not sell now.
I wouldn't yet.
And he would not be someone I would target to trade for either. At least not a top 3 target to fit that void. Let's hit another one. It's a big name. We've talked to him about him at least 2 of the first 3 weeks. Saquon Barkley, though. Close, narrow loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Does have one nice run. Anyone watching Red Zone? With Saquon, that's all we remember is the one nice run. We don't remember anything else, unfortunately. And he got a touchdown. So fantasy-wise, he's going to look okay. But, yeah.
21 points this week. Obviously, a step in the right direction.
Phenomenal.
I think it helps that you do have the running component with Daniel Jones because I think you can do some RPO stuff that can potentially open it up for Saquon. Especially if you do some, get creative like the Chiefs do with some pre-snap movement. Maybe you're out of the gun. You do something that's a play action. You swing them out to the outside. You've got, some screen potential, some swing pass potential. But I just think we need a larger sample size with Saquon. I don't know if I would sell on him yet because you probably drafted him pretty highly.
Oh, I know.
But I'd be nervous. I mean, I think there's reason for optimism, but it's cautious optimism at best.
Yeah, I think this is the week you would want to sell. Really try to milk those 21 points and just be like, he averaged 3.5 yards.
Well, that's a great. I mean, that's a great counter. Like
he averaged 3.5. This isn't sustainable.
If you're in a dynasty league and you can still find any value out of that, this is the week to move him. If you feel like you can still compete this year, don't do it, but if you're 0-3 or 1-2 in your dynasty leagues, yeah, it's time to move. Sorry.
It's sad, man. It's sad.
It's a lot like Zeke Elliott. It's just we might have seen the best of him at this point, especially coming off of that injury. He's not really on an offense that's going to open things up for him, unfortunately. And
that I don't know, but I do think the book is closed on him being like a top 5 back this year.
Oh, yeah.
These aren't the I mean, that's where he was being drafted.
It was too soon.
I know 3 weeks removed, it's like, but.
The weird thing is I think all of the criticisms, all of the very fair reasons for skepticism of him, they all applied before the season. So, I mean, if you took him early, I feel bad for you, but you probably weren't paying attention quite as closely as you should have been.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know we have some great questions. I love to see the chat popping. First, though, DraftKings Sportsbook, the number 1 sportsbook in all the land. Obviously, they started off as a fantasy football company, but now they have developed the number 1 sportsbook in all the land. Use that code DNVR, and they will match your first deposit bonus up to $1,000. It's amazing stuff. New users, put $1 on any NFL market, win $150 back. That's the deal, right?
It's a gorgeous deal.
It's insane. It's insane. You can take advantage of all the kind of stuff we talk on, take advantage of those props and what have you. I know that on yesterday's tailgate, I did very well on the props, went over Kirk Cousins passing yards.
You like that?
Yeah, I did. That's the secondary. You want to start the quarterback who's playing the Seahawks every single week. And just same as you want to start whatever quarterback's facing off against the Seahawks secondary every single week because Jamal Adams is trash, you also want to get in on the number 1 sportsbook in all the land, DraftKings. Get in on all their deals, all their amazing, it's just the best. Number 1, let's get that read up, that disclaimer. if you will. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Bonus comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Shout out DraftKings. Oh, I was so close to hitting a same game parlay yesterday. 4 of the 5. Needed more from Noah Fant, but that's how it goes.
Very nice. Okay, let's hit up those 2 questions.
Yep. So first coming in from Hank. I need to choose 2. Pittman, Singletary, Javonte, OBJ, and then I think this is a second list. Chenault, Ruggs, Sterling Shepard, Rondale.
Javonte and Rondale.
Yeah, that's the move.
OBJ, you like his stock, but that Cleveland offense, I think, is going to be super run-heavy down the stretch.
No. Felton's the guy to have in that. Deep leagues, Dominic Felton is your guy.
I do think Ruggs stock is rising, though, because Vegas, has finally figured out he's faster than everybody on the field. Let's try and get him the ball in ways that are not just having him run in a straight line. But yeah, I'd go Rondale and I'd go Javonte, because I think those are the guys moving forward that are in the best position to put up points, and I think their stock probably has the highest ceiling moving forward.
I am a big Sterling Shepard guy. He's been playing well. Yeah, you're right. Ruggs really stands out. Don't sleep on those Buffalo running backs either. Singletary's been doing well, but I would go
Quick note about Buffalo running
Javonte
backs.
Ruggs.
Zach Moss did not have a single red zone touch in week 1. Since then, leads the league in red zone touches by running backs.
They were trolling the first couple weeks in Buffalo. Like, this was the classic, like, oh, yeah, this is the real Josh Allen, and he's doing just fine. Okay.
Josh Allen?
Peyton Barber. Oh, we have another one.
Yep. Trade for JT, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and T. Higgins, or Ayuk for CMC. Kupp and Stafford, he really needs running backs.
Okay.
Who's JT?
Jordan Taylor.
Oh.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire at Jonathan. Which one is it, Kale?
Jonathan
Taylor, yeah.
Sorry. That's the thing I do. That's a fun bit. JT, CH, T. Higgins, or Ayuk for C-Mac,
You get all
Kupp,
3 of those?
and Stafford.
I mean, you can get all 3 of those guys for Ayuk, jump all over it. But
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
that's
what
a
he's
no-brainer.
saying is CMC for Ayuk, Kupp, and Stafford, because the other guy really needs running backs.
Oh, okay. I mean, Stafford might be a top 3 fantasy quarterback.
Or wait.
No, I think this is how we took it first.
Okay.
If that's the case, that's highway robbery.
But
Take
wait,
that trade all day.
It's JT, CH, and Higgins, or Ayuk. Okay, so it's 2 young running backs with one wide
young receiver
alternate for C-Mac, Kupp, Stafford.
That's a no-brainer in my mind.
I'd give up either of those backs.
To keep Kupp. You want to be on the Kupp Stafford side.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you're on the Kupp Stafford CMC,
McCaffrey out of it.
That's just bonus money if
Right.
he ends up being anything.
yeah, that's a no-brainer. I don't think he's
I'd
accepting
be
that
willing
trade.
to give up either of those backs,
Right,
honestly.
right.
It does not matter. Taylor's...
But this is a time where you might get someone to still overpay on those young backs. And milk CEH. 100 yards.
And then Zach, we will talk about Mike Josecki in just a second.
Okay, great. A few more quick buy or sells. Peyton Barber has over 100 yards for the Raiders. You know, it's pending Josh Jacobs. Obviously, though, he has seemingly taken over as RB2 over there for Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I like his stock. I'd buy it moving forward, mostly just because I'm not sure what Jacobs' health status is going to be the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He kind of feels like he's in that territory where, like, we hope he can play this week, but it's probably going to be more like a 2 or 3 week as they ease him back in.
Just 27. So, and then Kyle Juszczyk getting a touchdown. Of all the guys in San Francisco, he is the one dude who's produced in the last couple weeks in that backfield. I would stay put for Elijah Mitchell. That would be my advice.
Too. Although, I mean, if anybody's willing to lean on like a generational type halfback, fullback, whatever you want to label Juszczyk as, it'd probably be Shanahan. And you could do some really creative stuff and play action. I think he has some value as a. I know. I'm just saying. I think he has some value as a receiver. Like
he's 30. I think he's 31 though. Like, wouldn't we have seen it by now if he was going to be a fantasy guy?
I mean, look, they don't have running backs, so him getting those red zone touches, but you are so reliant on those.
That's the thing is he's not a between the 20s type guy. You're just trying to bank on some red zone touches.
Right,
so it's
right.
He's more like a stash away desperation type play, but there's some value there. I wouldn't want to lean on it, but
And I only bring this up because we talked about him last show. James Robinson, buy or sell. I think we can unanimously say it's time to buy. Maybe in a dynasty, right, Kale? You're a little more skeptical about James Robinson because of that ETN pick. But
this year,
come on, 6 of 46 and then runs for over 80 and a tud. To do that behind that line, I give the kid a lot of credit, man.
That's why I would be hesitant, though, is he might be is he able to sustain this with this line? Or
and do they believe in him, which they don't?
Yeah,
That's the
but
other thing.
he's
I don't
like
believe in Urban Meyer.
He's a prime trade target for me because he's going to put up fantasy points even though they don't really believe in him because they don't really have choices.
He's the best by far,
and the general football public still has no idea how good he is. If you're in a league with a bunch of diehards who listen to fantasy football podcasts, James Robinson isn't on the trade block, but in a lot of regular leagues, he probably is.
He's a bad man. He seeks out contact and everything, too. Another one I have on this buy or sell list, Alexander Madison. Great game. Don't overread doing stuff against the Seahawks because, again, it's a no-brainer to start your fantasy players against the Seahawks, same as it's a no-brainer to bet on DraftKings Sportsbook. Madison, though, has to be one of the most popular handcuffs, and it's already paying off. So that ship has sailed, unfortunately.
I mean, they expect Dalvin to be back next week. He was hoping to play this week. Madison's one of those great, like, if Cook's not going to be in the lineup, he's a great play because he kind of fills in seamlessly, and they really trust him in Minnesota.
Right.
But as long as Dalvin's the guy, he is that bell cow, and it's hard to really bank on consistent production.
Give me that panic meter graphic that I love. Look at that. Man, that is phenomenal. And some great players there. Let's get into this panic meter. We start with the Cardinals. Once again, DeAndre Hopkins. You know, Christian Kirk's making some plays. A.J. Green had a big game. Edmonds, of course, is also getting grabs. His target share just not where it has been in years past.
They've just got a lot of weapons. I mean, it's really the first time in his career he's playing in an offense where it's not just him. Like, he's not, going to be the only guy getting 10-plus targets a game. It's really good to see A.J. Green playing healthy football on a relevant team again. He's a guy that his entire career I just felt like he was just in a better situation. He could have been one of the better receivers in the league. But
I know, generational.
Yeah, I'm panicking, I guess, when I'm a DeAndre Hopkins owner because, again, he's probably a guy you took as your wide receiver one, and he's not going to get the same amount of targets that he was in years past. Yeah,
I'm full-blown in orange here. Cliff Kingsbury also doesn't play him outside of one side of the field. It's been 3 years at this point. We know what it is. He doesn't hop around. That's just not what he does.
Yeah. Concerning. I would say concerning. I'll throw you this one. How about Nick Chubb? Now, goodish game against the Bears. Does start the season with like 2 rushing touchdowns. He's consistently getting outproduced by Kareem Hunt and just not generating those same yards per carry. Now, plays in the AFC North. We know November, December, you're going to be in Cleveland, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. You're going to want to run the ball a lot. So maybe the Chubbster begins to be relied on a little more.
It is concerning. I mean, they've gone against the Falcons, the Chiefs, and the Texans. And he's not exactly tearing it up against 3 defenses that are not going to be in the top 15. I'm a little concerned, especially because what Kareem Hunt brings Cleveland in the passing game. I just think he offers more versatility.
I mean, you drafted him thinking Chubb could potentially be the RB1 in all of fantasy football.
Yeah.
Right now, he's not the RB1 in his own backfield.
I'd say I'm a yellow. I'm starting to panic a little bit.
I'm with you.
I still like his potential moving forward. I like that you brought up they are going to run the ball a lot, especially as it gets cold. But it's something to keep an eye on. And if Kareem continues to get significantly more touches, I'd maybe try and sell him while you still can get relatively good value for him.
Right. Yep. I agree. Maybe even get a little creative. Try that straight up swap.
Oh yeah, especially if you could go get like a top 5 tight end, if you could get a wide receiver that's really going to produce for you. I think there's a lot of flexibility you have with a guy like Chubb, who again, I still think he's, when it's all said and done, probably a top 10 fantasy running back.
Right.
But he's not going to be the top 3 or 4 guy that you hoped when you drafted him.
Yeah. How about Hollywood Brown? Now, obviously, at best, this is a wide receiver 3 flex candidate for you. But this would have been one of those weeks where he might have said, okay, the lowly Lions, he's going to play them. Let's send it. And he dropped 3 touchdowns, man. And if you had Baltimore big, you're pissed. But, I mean, yikes.
Yeah, I'm red. I mean, he had drop issues in college. Like, this is nothing new with him. He's one of the most electric athletes on the field. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure he's actually a good wide receiver, though.
Or football player.
Yeah.
Which he's 155 pounds. Like, he just isn't. But, that's the thing about these feast or famine guys.
He's going to have a couple of big weeks because it's just
I know, type of player. This was one of those.
It should have been.
This was one of those. This should have been your 3 touchdown game. And I feel so horrible for, like, that dude in a 14-team league who took this risk knowing full well, like, he's feast or famine, starts him on the right game, and that guy drops 3 tuds, man. Devastating.
The law of averages would say it should even out, and he'll have a good game to kind of help it. But yeah, I'm full on red panic when it comes to Hollywood Brown, and that's just not a passing offense that I'd feel that great about based on what we've seen over these last couple of weeks, because we know they're gonna stack the box, and Lamar just I think the people that say, Lamar's not a pocket passer, I think he's a better thrower of the football than a lot of people give him credit for, but
for sure,
he isn't a guy that you want, in the pocket having to make like a bunch of reads, and I don't like their passing offense.
Right. I know we have a lot of everyone in fantasy is dealing with injury concerns, so any questions, have them come our way. Kale, do you want to touch on some injury strategies, or should we?
Yeah, I'll go quick through them because I know we're running low on time.
Yeah, because the panic meter stuff, I hit the big ones.
Yeah, we hit the big ones. A lot of injury stuff. I think we need to evaluate this based on what type of league you're in. If you're 1-2 and you're 0-3 in a dynasty or a keeper league, it's kind of time to start thinking about next season.
Yeah.
The math doesn't help you. So,
time to load up on picks in a dynasty.
To load up on picks. If you're in a keeper league, this might be the time where you try and move some of your older players that are still going to be fantasy relevant. Maybe even a Derrick Henry if you have him on your team, but you're 1-2. Trying to move him for a young guy that's going to be a good keeper value in the next year or dynasty value moving forward. If you can trade a Derrick Henry for, I don't know, someone that's some elite receiver like a Devonta Smith or something, it's probably your last year of banging production out of Derrick Henry, that type of thing. The other thing I want to talk about is if you are crazy injured, where you can go. To answer your question, Mike, on Mike Josecki. Mike Josecki is still available in a lot of leagues. And if not, he's probably pretty cheap trade value-wise. You can get him for probably a good backup running back. And if you need a starting caliber tight end, he's going to put up, I think, a floor of 7 or 8 points every week. And for a tight end,
by any tight ends in the NFL this week with like 18 on ESPN.
That's crazy.
So Mike Josecki's a great option there. I also, Henry asking, cut Rondale or Pittman for Patrick. Pittman. Don't cut Rondale more. That would be really stupid.
Pittman's kind of becoming their main guy too, though. But I do think I'd prefer Patrick.
Value's so high right now,
100%,
especially with no KJ. Like, he was getting touches anyways, but he's legitimately Denver's wide receiver 1A at this point. Like, they trust him. Right. He's going to get chances to stretch the field, and he gets red zone looks, which is the most valuable thing in fantasy football.
I mean, he's already got 2 touchdowns. I'd I'd probably go. Rondale's upside is just so crazy high in that Cardinals offense.
Yeah.
Streaming defenses. This is a thing that people should be doing every year anyway, unless you have one of the 3 or 4 best defenses in football.
Yep.
But
I
if
drafted
you
the football team and they're screwing me, so
Exactly.
Can we go
So-
back to that? Because on our first preview show, I mentioned the fact that Washington really feasted against some bad offenses last year. The pumpkin is the carriage is turned back to a pumpkin in DC a little bit.
like instantly.
So that's a really good option for navigating some injuries. And then there's just a lot of guys who you can have on the trade value for kind of cheap right now if you're paying attention. There's a lot of wide receiver 2s. T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk are both guys that are putting up numbers now that they're actually integrated into those offenses. T. Higgins is the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. People fantasy-wise are not treating him that way. I don't know why. But
it's the Jamar Chase hype.
Exactly. It's hype. But T. Higgins is the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. He's going to get the targets, and if he doesn't have a 100-yard game, he's pretty much going to have 5 or 6 catches every week. He's going to get some touchdowns in there, and he's not super expensive right now. In a league that's probably ravished at running, in most of your leagues, which if you're in at least 8-person leagues, you're probably ravished at running back.
Yeah.
If you have a running back to move, you have an RB3 that you're using in a flex spot right now, move him for an elite wide receiver. That's how you survive injuries.
There you go. That's how you kind of make some you build some margins, and then you utilize those margins you've built to flip them into something you actually use. That is very valuable. I don't feel we need to say anything after that. Tune in next Monday. Thank you all for coming far and wide. I love seeing the chat that active. Thank you to producer Kale, my main man Justin Michael. I'm Andre Simone. Best of luck in your matchups going into week 4. We will be back Monday night.